We're talking dialysis today. We'll learn about who can benefit from dialysis, what it is, and what a typical treatment schedule looks like. My guests will include Brenda Totsky, who is the dialysis director for the Bluff Medical Center Dialysis Center, Kelly Bender, a dialysis nurse for the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center here in Lake Delton, and R.J. Rogers, former Bluff dialysis patient. I'm Justin Riley, and from Bluff's Delton Family Medical Center, this is Wisconsin Doctors. Welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We are here at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center at Bluff's Delton Family Medical Center, and I'm joined by a fantastic team of folks who are going to talk to us a little bit about dialysis. How are you guys today?
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Good to be here, good to have you with us. And Kelly Bender, I'm going to start with you. Today, obviously, we're talking about dialysis. Can you start us out by providing a brief overview of what dialysis is and typically who needs this type of service?
Sure. It's for people who they have low kidney function, or they don't have any kidney function left, and they basically need help being put on the machine, and the machine does the work that their body would usually do. So it
removing
helps.
toxins and so forth.
Yep, removing fluid and toxins, all those things that your kidneys do for you and can no longer keep up with.
And how exactly does that machine work? I mean, what does it do once you're hooked up, so to speak? What does that work? How does that work?
Yep. So you're hooked up, and basically the machine takes the blood out of your body, cleans it, helps with the electrolytes, and then puts it back in.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're getting your blood changed, basically,
Right.
when you go in and do that.
Right.
And Brenda, it sounds like, Brenda Totsky, it sounds like dialysis is something that is only needed by a very specific population of people. Is the need for dialysis a pretty rare thing?
Actually, it's not. Most people think it is. We've actually been at Bluff since 1999 doing dialysis treatments. As the baby boomers get older, we are seeing more and more people that need dialysis and that. Generally, we have a wait list of people that are waiting to get into our facility to have dialysis, and they're actually driving like hour and a half one way each treatment, which is 3 times a week, to get this service. So we looked at those numbers and actually saw the need that for another unit, so we opened our Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center to be closer to home, to meet more of the needs of our population in the community and that. And it's actually really nice because then if our Monday, Wednesday, Friday group, say one of them needs a treatment on a Saturday because they have a doctor's appointment on, say, Friday, they can now not travel an hour and a half one way. They can just jump on the interstate and come down here a half hour and get the same service with the same great care.
Much more convenient, obviously.
Yes.
Kelly, can you share with viewers what they should look for that could be signs or symptoms of kidney failure?
I think it could be different for everyone. I think it just depends on if you have had some kind of trauma or if it's kind of a chronic thing, but any kind of changes you see in urination, so increased, decrease,
irregularities when it comes to processing some of the
right.
toxins in your body. And
Right. I think everyone knows their own body the best.
Right.
So if you're retaining fluid and you're not really doing anything different as far as diet or you're swelling, in your hands, feet, legs.
And that's a sign of retention of fluid if you're swelling.
Right. You're not getting rid of it as quickly as you need to.
Because it's the kidneys that really process the fluid and then expel the fluid from your body once it doesn't need it anymore.
Right. Yep. They help with that. Changes in blood pressure as well. Your kidneys regulate your blood pressure more than anything. So.
Right. Right. RJ, you are a former dialysis patient, and we're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Can you share your story as to how you first came to realize that you were in need of dialysis?
Well, in April of 2013, I had a fall, and I fell down a flight of stairs, and I broke 4 ribs. And while I was hospitalized, the doctors told me that I had low kidney function. I was not producing like I should be.
And was this, I'm sorry to interrupt, was this because of the fall, you think, or was this?
They don't know for sure if that
know.
caused the fall,
Wow.
and that is a possibility. There are a lot of people that are undetermined on why they have kidney function, loss of kidney function, and I may be just one of those people. But anyway, I was referred to a nephrologist through Mile Bluff, and with Dr. Himmelke's help, I was able to be put on the transplant, and I was able to use dialysis, waiting for a kidney.
And you're here with us today, and we're so
And I
happy.
am very grateful for that.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the treatment schedule of dialysis patients typically look like. We'll be right back with more Wisconsin Doctors. Welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We are at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center, part of Mile Bluff's Delton Family Medical Center, and we're talking about dialysis today. This is a brand new center that just opened in January of 2016. And Brenda, you know, I've always thought that once someone begins dialysis treatment, it's something that they're going to need for the rest of their lives. But obviously RJ is kind of living proof of that. That's not necessarily true.
You're right, it isn't necessarily true. A lot of times it's a certain instance, something acute that happens and they just need us for the duration while the kidneys heal. Sometimes it is chronic and everything, and then we are here for the duration of their lives or until they get a transplant like RJ did. When we get patients in, we automatically refer them to the transplant centers at UW or Milwaukee or Rochester to see if they are eligible. Because once they get the transplant, they're good, they don't need us anymore, and that's great.
And that's the hope, really, is that they get to the point where they don't need you anymore.
Correct.
Yeah. RJ, I'm curious to know from a patient's perspective, how important was it for you to know that you had this specialized service available to you through your local care provider?
I appreciated knowing that the caregivers were local people, professionals.
Right.
Having my nurses and the technicians and the social service who treated me was, on a regular basis, was immense. It was immense to my family and to myself. It helped me adjust to the dialysis procedures because it does take a big chunk of your life is on dialysis.
I mean, it's a several-hour treatment session, and it's 3 times a week.
Yes, for me it was 4 to 5 hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So your life does change, but it also was able to keep me, and I was able to get a kidney.
You're able to keep your life until you could get a kidney.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. That's a part-time job. 4 to 5 hours a day for 3 days.
That is a part-time job, but it was the professionals that helped me to be able to adjust to that.
Kelly, does someone have to be a patient, excuse me, in the Mile Bluff system in order to use the dialysis services that are offered here?
No, nope, definitely not. They can be a patient of ours and we treat them, or they can be a patient of another provider and we'll still treat them. Either way, we provide the same care.
And insurance transfers and so forth, as far as you know? Okay,
Yep.
Fantastic. Brenda, earlier you mentioned that you can also provide dialysis treatments to those who are just visiting in the area, which is kind of nice if people are on vacation and they need to have that kind of treatment available. If someone who receives regular dialysis treatments is planning to travel to the Wisconsin Dells or Juneau County areas, how will they go about making an appointment at Mile Bluff?
That's one of the nice things about being in Wisconsin Dells. Before this unit opened, we would either not be able to take them, or it was kind of emergency wise that we would take them in that. It wasn't easy because we were always filled in Mauston with a waiting list.
Right.
So We do have some spots that we set aside just for travelers because we saw that need of the area, because it's constantly people from Chicago, Racine are coming up to spend time with their family, and they deserve to spend that time with their family without having to worry about the 5-hour treatment and how that's going to cut into their day. So first of all, if people want to come, they just need to have their social worker call. We do ask for 30 days notice ahead of time in that. So if you're planning for next spring, call us now. That's great. We'll put you into our calendar system. And then it really goes between us and the social worker and the unit to get all the paperwork over, and then our Marshfield providers will write orders, and we'll get you a date, we'll get you a time, and you can come here and we'll provide your dialysis while you're on vacation.
So dialysis centers typically employ social workers to work with the patients to help with this type of thing?
Correct. Just as if I don't know if RJ, if you use this service or not.
I did.
But if you were planning a trip to, say, Florida or Texas or something, you would let Melissa Fry know, our social worker, and she would get those arrangements going. So you could also go down there with your family.
It's so good to know that you're not bound at home or in your hometown just because you need this treatment, that you can go other places where it's available.
Yeah, we try our best to make it feel like home, but yet you still don't lose all your freedom.
Right. We got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about dialysis here at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center. We'll be right back with more Wisconsin Doctors. Welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We've been talking about dialysis here at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center, part of Mile Bluff's Delton Family Medical Center. And Kelly, if somebody has kidney issues, are there any steps that can be taken before dialysis as the recommended treatment?
Certainly. They can, obviously, regular visits with their primary care is good. Being aware, like I said earlier, of what the norm is for you. Blood pressure is the biggest thing when it comes to preventing, I guess, if that's the word for it, just keeping it under control. So knowing what your norm is, if you take meds, making sure you're taking them at the same time. If you're diabetic, making sure that your sugar is, within normal limits as well. All of those things, just taking care of yourself, essentially. Exercise, your diet, the things they tell you for everything, I guess.
And from what I understand, blood pressure is key when it comes to kidney health.
Yes.
I mean, it's the first sign of issues, having kidney issues at times. And it's kind of a cyclical thing because high blood pressure is also hard on the kidneys at the same time.
Definitely.
So it can kind of cause the disease to progress further if you're not taking care of your blood pressure.
Yes. Yep, and other things. It's kind of that trickle-down effect where it starts with blood pressure, and then that leads to something else and something else. So.
Right. Yes. Important to take care of yourself always, no matter what.
Sure.
Brenda, can you walk us through what a typical dialysis treatment schedule is like?
Sure. People come to dialysis. They come in, they get weighed.
Okay.
Then they go to their dialysis chair. We wash their access site or their catheter site. We put them on the machine. Typical how long they're in the chair for the actual treatment varies. We have people who are on for 2.5 hours. We have people as long as the most I've ever seen is 5 hours in a sitting. And that once the treatment is done and we remove that excess fluid and cleaned your blood, then we will remove the needles or get you off the machine, rinse your blood back, give you all, as much blood as we can through the system, and that. Then they go and they weigh again to see how much fluid we removed, and then you can go about your day and that. So it varies, it's individualized. We are fortunate we have doctors and nurse practitioners that come about once a week to every other week, and we regulate that. It's individualized to see what you need as a person as a whole.
Sure, yeah, everybody's on sort of a different plan depending on where they're at in terms of their kidney function.
Exactly.
Kelly, can you touch on some of the types of education elements that are provided to dialysis patients?
Sure. we find that some people who have never had that experience before, or they've never had a family member who have experienced dialysis, or just have no idea what it is or why they would need it. So our new patients tend to need a lot of education on what they should have and what they should do and shouldn't do. We have a lot of reading material. Obviously, everyone likes to throw that kind of stuff at you, but we have videos that we show them on the computer when they're in the chair. We have the nephrologist who comes once a month, like Brenda said. We have another nurse practitioner that comes more than once a month. They address any questions you have or any problems you're having with treatment, or the social worker helps with those things too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's fantastic that you have that sort of support available for patients.
Right.
Because I think there is something to be said about having literature. I mean, literature is great, but a lot of people feel overwhelmed when they get a big stack of stuff. And so to have somebody there who's ready to answer your questions is huge.
And a lot of people don't read it. I mean, it's just one more thing, I think, essentially. So when they come, they usually have a lot of questions. Right. Which it's life-altering, when you're not used to having to spend the majority of your time, hooked up to a machine each week. So.
Right. RJ, we're going to come back to you after the break here. We got to take a short break, and we'll be right back here at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center. We'll be right back with more Wisconsin Doctors. Welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We've been talking dialysis here at the Wisconsin Dells Dialysis Center, part of Mile Bluff's Delton Family Medical Center. RJ, as a former dialysis patient, why was Mile Bluff the right choice for you, and what was your experience like at the dialysis center?
I was very fortunate to have the choice to use Mile Bluff Dialysis Center. It was very convenient for me. Right. It was in my own community. It was just a few blocks away from my home. The travel time makes a big difference on a person that is very ill. Right. The hours of dialysis worked for me. I started out in the middle of the day, and that was not convenient for me, and I was very fortunate to switch to the early morning shift, which was at 4:30 in the morning. Wow. So a lot of people don't realize that it's a long period of time that these chairs are used. And it was also convenient for my family. And I was very fortunate that the dialysis center allowed at some points for my grandchild who lived in my home to be able to come and sit with me and read, and because I was losing that time with her alone along with my husband. So, and other visitors I had during the time, and just having community members around me was very supportive.
Right, so you don't have to be alone in this whole process.
That's exactly right, and it did make a big difference.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Brenda, healthcare is constantly changing. How do you and your team members stay up to date on the latest techniques and technologies to ensure that patients are always getting the best possible care?
Well, first off, our orientation process is quite in-depth. We have a very stringent 3-month orientation process for techs and nurses, and then even after that, for 3 months, once a nurse is done, if they don't have any dialysis experience, we keep a close eye on them and keep them with somebody, a buddy system type approach to get them to feel comfortable, because dialysis is such a unique area in that our techs have to be certified 12 months after they start dialysis. So that's a national certification program, and then we're always sending them to new updated seminars, and that Kelly just went to one over the last month, and I sent a couple texts to another last month. So we're always trying to stay on top of the new improvements there are out there.
Yeah, staying plugged into new things that are coming up. And I'm just curious to know, are the 12 months, is that the kind of the shadowing process that you mentioned, that after the training period is up, they kind of work with a buddy, so to speak?
Well, the whole area is kind of a buddy. We do a really big teamwork experience. That's a national, they have to work 12 months as a tech before they can write for this exam.
Got it. Kelly, aside from the treatments and education, are there things you and your team do to help improve the comfort of patients since they are sitting in the same spot for a few hours at a time?
Yes, like she had said earlier, it's a lot of time that you're spending away from your family and sitting in a chair and can't go anywhere. So we have lazy boy recliners, TVs for them, warm blankets. Again, family can certainly come in at certain times and visit with them. Comfort is a huge thing, and just trying to meet their needs as much as we can.
Absolutely. And Brenda, it sure sounds like with Mile Bluff's Mauston and Wisconsin Dells dialysis centers, there's a strong connection between patient and provider that you may not experience elsewhere. Is that connection one of the reasons you work in the dialysis field?
It is. You get used to seeing people, meeting people, finding out more about what their life is about, and that finding what their needs are, because everyone's needs are different, and then doing our best to achieve those needs and make them feel welcome, make them feel warm. A few years ago when the Packers went to the Super Bowl, we had the whole unit, all the patients wanted to do a cheer, so we did a Packer cheer that we videotaped for Mile Bluff. We just try and make it feel like home, and that, so it's not a procedure. It's okay. It's a second job.
Right. And hopefully one of these days we won't have to say a few years ago when the Packers went to the Super Bowl. So RJ, now that you're on the other side of dialysis treatments, is there anything you would like to say to the Mile Bluff team and to those out there who are looking for a dialysis provider?
Well, when I received my kidney in 2015, in March, the dialysis unit had been my family, and I missed them desperately. I mean, you may not think that's possible to go through a procedure, but like that, but it was. They were loving and caring, and they took care of myself and my family. And to those needing care, check out Mile Bluff. Check out the facilities. Don't be afraid, because those things that will scare you can also help you.
Yeah, they'll make you feel better.
Make you feel better. And I have enjoyed knowing these people for my whole time now, while I was a dialysis patient and afterwards. They're still part of my family.
That's fantastic. RJ Rogers, Kelly Bender, and Brenda Totsky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for Wisconsin Doctors. From all of us here at Wisconsin 57, we invite you to live longer, live better. We'll see you next time.